All right, guys, we've got a bunch of updates when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 with the timing of the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. We've got updates on the system itself, games coming over, the Nintendo Switch 1, and a bit more. So first, we're going to start off with the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct this April. Nintendo has given us an update with the official timing for the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. So it says on their official Twitter page of Nintendo of America, join us on April 2nd at 6 a.m. PT for hashtag Nintendo Direct Nintendo Switch 2 4/2/2025. And for all my European peeps out there and all that, we put the month first, okay? Month first, then the day, then the year. We don't do the day, then the month, then the year. We put the month first, okay? So April 2nd, 2025, where we will share a closer look at hashtag Nintendo Switch 2. And then they also have the link there as well. And yeah, this is huge because 6 a.m. is a fantastic time for me. Now, I do feel sorry for a lot of my East Coast brethren when it comes to people there, especially if you have work starting right at 9 a.m. Well, here is your time to actually call in. Here is your time to get this time off no matter what. We've got a little bit over 2 months at this point overall, or right about 2 months, actually a little bit under 2 months at this point. So make sure you take that time off. Now for me, I might still have something that I have to do, but it's so early here in California, I can wake up by 3 or 4 a.m., get the stream started and actually cover it, do everything that I need to do even after that, and then probably still get to where I need to get to later in the morning. So I do like when Nintendo does these 6 a.m. presentations because there has been times where I have other stuff that I have to do, that I have to go to, and they have a 6 a.m. presentation and I can cover it well into the morning and everything and then just leave afterwards. And I can still even cover it a little bit after the show. So it works out for me. And this time works out for people worldwide. When you do it this early on the West Coast, when it comes to Japan or when it comes to other parts of Europe, they have a more suitable time to watch it. Because if you do it later in the day, it becomes much tougher for European peeps and for other people to actually watch the show. So this makes sense from a global phenomenon, global watching scale. And trust me, this will be a seismic event that's probably going to be the most watched Nintendo Direct of all time, and I don't think it's even going to be close. This is the Nintendo Switch 2, a sequel to one of the most successful systems of all time. Third, when it comes to just system sales, in terms of success profit-wise, it blows away all of Nintendo's other systems, even combined when it comes down to things. But when it comes to system sales, it's the third most of all time, and it's threatening to take the DS's crown at this point for the best-selling Nintendo system of all time, probably sometime later this year, and could potentially even be the best-selling system of all time, surpassing 160 million units at the PlayStation 2 set. We haven't had a system sell this much since 2012, back with the Nintendo DS, so it's been a decade plus since we've ever had anything like this. So you bet there's going to be millions of people watching this around the globe in a variety of different ways. So this is just going to be a great event, and I'm looking forward to covering it for you guys. I will be locking in 100%. I'll be covering the show, so you're going to want to lock in as well. And speaking of locking in, a lot of you guys that aren't subscribed absolutely need to lock in and subscribe to the channel if you're watching and enjoying this video. Hit that like button, click the notification bell for the best Nintendo Switch 2 news and more. Trust me, it will be the best decision you'll make heading into the Nintendo Switch 2 era, because unlike the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series of systems back in 2020 when those launched, you'll probably be able to find and buy a Nintendo Switch 2 if Nintendo has their say, which leads us to our next topic here. The president of Nintendo talks about the Nintendo Switch 2 supply, and he's promising to meet the demand and potentially taking measures against scalpers. Nintendo could be flexing their muscle a bit. They've talked about this before, but now they're kind of giving a bit more details as we head closer to the pre-orders that should be starting on April 2nd after the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. Shoutouts to Nintendo Everything for this. So Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa has briefly commented on the supply situation with Nintendo Switch 2 leading up to the new console's launch later this year. This comes as part of the company's financial results shared earlier today. Speaking with investors, Furukawa promised that the company will meet demand. Nintendo is looking to avoid a similar situation that affected its current console previously. Furukawa said this, quote, "There was a time when the Switch was in short supply and there was a lot of reselling. It is important that we have enough units to meet demand, and we are proceeding with preparations for the release." The original Nintendo Switch did face its own fair share of supply issues around release. There were also some periods of scarcity during the pandemic, although that was partially due to a chip shortages. Now, Nintendo reported its financial results recently for the first 3 quarters of the year. Everything was strictly about the Nintendo Switch 1. The company said it will only discuss how Nintendo Switch 2 will impact its financial results for the fiscal year ending March 2026 in May. Now, check that out, guys. If you haven't seen my video on it, it's pretty cool. I did a big video talking about all of that. But I want to give you guys a little bit more of an update that was happening here with the Nintendo Switch 2 and scalping. The problem with people that are pretty much buying up a bunch of systems and selling them for inflated prices on eBay or on Facebook Marketplace or on other places there. There was also an update from the Nikkei on this one. The Nikkei has commented from Furukawa regarding scalpers. He said that Nintendo, quote, "will take all possible measures against resales, etc. Based on our past experiences. We are proceeding with preparation." So nobody knows what that actually means. What can they actually do to handle what scalpers are going to be doing? Now, there are a number of things. So let's say, for example, before the system even launches, you will see sometimes scalpers put up a bunch of listings. Nintendo can actually go after those because I think those are against TOS for a lot of the places. You can't have a bunch of listings for something that's unreleased yet. So those are things that Nintendo can do. What else can they do? Well, there are some loopholes overall. Remember when you used to have those cartridges that said not for resale or certain things like that? And it was really weird at the time. And I think that Bethesda was a situation there. So I'm pretty sure that Nintendo can find some type of loopholes with people selling their systems for inflated prices overall, or just inflated prices in general. Now, I'm not sure how much they can actually do, and I do feel that there needs to be, I would say, a limit on some stuff like that, right? Like if somebody sells a system, like let's say it's like a little bit over what the actual price is, I don't think that needs to be taken down or something like that. But what the problem is, for me at least, is when people get these bots overall, right? They get these bots and they start buying up all the systems right there at launch, start buying up all the systems whenever there's more stock, and then they start selling them for inflated prices. We saw this to a crazy degree with the PlayStation 5. That was the system to where it got so out of hand and it got so bad, it was like, what is going on here? This should not be allowed at all from any of these places like eBay and all these places that are allowing it. That should just be not something that happens. You can't be buying up every system to where you have like a whole warehouse full of them and you're selling them for like $1,000 a pop. That's insane. The system costs $500 and you're doubling the price and you're using bots to do it overall. So it needs to be a concerned effort from Nintendo talking to retailers, Best Buy, Walmart, Target, all the places. You can't allow bots to run the show overall and to buy up everything, because that is lost money for everybody involved. If some person like that is buying up every single system and you have multiple people doing that, they're not buying games with it. They're just buying the system and looking to sell it for inflated prices. And then people who buy those systems aren't going to have as much money to buy games. So therefore, that's less money in the pockets of the developers, less money in the pockets of Nintendo, and less money in the pockets of all of the retailers. So it's a concerned effort on everyone's part to make sure that that stuff doesn't happen. So I'm hoping that Nintendo and these retailers can get something done on that, because we don't want to have that same situation. But one good way, like Furukawa said, to do this is to make enough systems. If you make enough systems, then this probably won't happen at all. Now, I do think that the PS5 situation was because of the chip shortage. 2020 was an incredibly trying year. There was a lot of problems. There was a lot of issues. And it was a year that I never, ever want to revisit when it comes to certain things. So I think that was also a problem. Nintendo has been able to weather the storm since then and has been able to sell the Nintendo Switch 1 and build up a surplus of stock of Nintendo Switch 2 systems. So I do think that you will have an easier time buying this one, and there will be a lot of systems to buy this time around. So that is definitely some good news. But of course, with your systems, in terms of buying that, you need to have games, and it looks like EA will be there actually supporting the Nintendo Switch 2 with some significant titles at launch or near launch. Because check this out, guys, EA has talked about this, and EA says that EA Sports FC and Madden may find real energy on the Nintendo Switch 2. In addition to that, the Cozy Bundle for My Sims sold well ahead of what they were expecting. Now, I'm not an Andrew Wilson or EA fan at all, but I do want to cover this because it is something that a lot of you guys have asked me, especially when it comes to Madden on the Nintendo Switch 2. So during a financial call, EA CEO Andrew Wilson had this to say when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2. Quote, "Anytime a new console comes into the marketplace, that's of a benefit to us. It gives us the ability to access and acquire new players. Typically, we've had franchises perform well on Nintendo platforms. Certainly, our expectation is that products like FC and Madden and others might find real energy on the platform, as they have done in the past. When you think about something like The Sims and My Sims Cozy Bundle, which performed well ahead of our expectations, 50% of all players were new to EA. That represents a great opportunity for us. So again, there is nothing in our models at this juncture, but our expectation is that anytime a new console comes into the marketplace, that gives us access to new players and new communities, that we have the IP that will benefit from that." EA and many other third parties are talking about this when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2. We should hear more about this at the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. Now, why is this something that I target? And because even with the Nintendo Switch 1, they had EA up on stage at the Nintendo Switch presentation 2017. Talk about the really stripped back version of FIFA that they had on the Nintendo Switch that was launching in 2017. And those FIFA games did really well. Now it's called FC at this point. Now, the thing that I want to focus in on here is Madden, because it seems like Madden will be coming to Nintendo Switch 2 based on what he said, because he said our expectation is products like FC and Madden and others might find real energy on the platform as they've done in the past. Now, here's the thing though, guys. Madden has not been on a Nintendo platform since the Wii days and Wii U days. No, sorry, more like Wii U days. It has not been on any Nintendo platform since the Wii U days. They have not released a single Madden. It's been over a decade plus since there's been a Madden product on an official Nintendo platform. They never put out any Madden games on the Nintendo Switch. They never made a specific version of Madden for the Nintendo Switch like they did like with the Wii, for example, or I think even with the DS or 3DS, they might have had like a Madden made for those as well. They had Madden for the Wii U, but it wasn't even the best version of Madden with the new engine and all that. It was the previous one that they used, so they didn't even get it up to the standards of the PS3 and 360 back in 2012 when the Wii U launched. So it was just a debacle on all cases with that. So we'll see if they actually put together something interesting. I do think that the My Sims Cozy Bundle, maybe they'll update that. Of course, FC is going to have the newer version of FC because they have updated even with the Nintendo Switch 1. So expect FC to get even better on the Nintendo Switch 2. And we'll see what they do with Madden. Now, I'm not expecting EA to drop everything on the Nintendo Switch 2. I think they're going to be cautiously optimistic with some of their stuff, but I do expect them to support the Nintendo Switch 2 earlier and often than what we saw with the Nintendo Switch 1, where their investors essentially pressured them into doing it by constantly harassing them at financial calls. Why aren't you supporting Nintendo Switch? Why aren't you supporting Nintendo Switch? So they finally buckled and threw out a number of games here and there well into the life of the product. So I found that to be interesting, but we'll see what happens going forward with EA. But also seeing what happens going forward, what about the future of the Nintendo Switch 1? Well, Nintendo's president Furukawa has actually talked about this. Here is what he had to say at a recent investor meeting. Quote, "As of now, we have announced Pokemon Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond as titles for the Nintendo Switch scheduled for release in 2025. Since many people are playing the Nintendo Switch, we would like to release attractive software if we can develop it. On the other hand, dedicated software is very important when launching new hardware. With that in mind, we would like to think of various ways to allow many customers to play our games through the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. Now, Nintendo also didn't mention Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. That's also launching in March. There's also some third-party games that are pretty big, like the Atelier Yumiya game. That game is coming out. We've got some smaller stuff like Lunar. We've got Suikoden. So there's a number of games that are coming out on the Nintendo Switch 1 that have not been announced for the Nintendo Switch 2 yet as well. So big third-party games and things like that. But here's what I'll say with this. He said it right here. They want to think of ways to where people can play games on the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2. So that does mean like there could be cross-gen titles where if you play it on the Nintendo Switch 1, it plays a certain type of way, and then you play it on the Nintendo Switch 2, you can get upgraded graphics, you can get updated frame rate, and all that. New features added into the game, so some cross-gen support does seem to be likely here. Mr. Furukawa also stated that he'll support the Nintendo Switch 1 as long as people are interested in playing it. Now, they have a player base of over 100 million active players on the Nintendo Switch. So despite the system being old and not being in terms of graphically powerful as the PS5 or Xbox Series, they still have 100 million plus unique players that are logging in and playing a variety of different games on the Nintendo Switch 1. So yeah, they would be insane to actually throw away that player base and say, you know what, yeah, let's not make anything for it. Let's not do anything at all. So I do see some games like this coming out overall when it comes to Pokemon Legends ZA, obviously Metroid Prime 4, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, but I also see stuff like NSO games continuing on there as well. So if we get an NSO update, it's going to go to the Nintendo Switch 1 and the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, I do think that there might be exclusive stuff on the Nintendo Switch 2, like maybe GameCube or maybe some of the newer systems that they'll add in to where maybe they need that extra horsepower in order to do some crazy emulation stuff or whatever the case is. I'm not sure what they're planning on doing, but I do feel that they will throw in some extra stuff or incentives to get the Nintendo Switch 2, but they will continue to drop Nintendo Switch 1 games here and there. I don't think that it's going to be a substantial amount of titles because he did say, hey, on the other hand, we have to have dedicated software for the Nintendo Switch 2, so expect there to be a high number of the biggest new games only coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. But if Nintendo makes, let's say, something like 1-2 Switch, for example, or something like a remaster or remake previously, I think something like that could also go to the Nintendo Switch 1 as well, with the big titles like maybe Mario Kart and like the next Monolith Soft title, the next Zelda, the next big 3D Mario. Obviously, those are going to be games that are probably exclusive on the Nintendo Switch 2, so you can drive that new hardware sales. So it's absolutely going to be very interesting when it comes to what Nintendo plans to do next. So what are your thoughts on everything that we discussed here, guys? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch RPG videos and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.